You are watching the Notre Dame recruiting update with Mike Singer. We are back. It is Friday, January the 20th. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show today. Get in the comment section. Joe Bro is here for all of it. Thanks for being with us, Joe Bro. Guys, hit the like button as we get into the show. And be sure, if you've not already subscribed to Blue and Gold on YouTube, because like Joe Bro, you're going to want to be in the comment section, and you have to be a subscriber to do that. So make sure you join us over at blueandgold.com as well. Mike Singer, Trianity with you to break down a big weekend last weekend with visitors, Junior Day. Got some news down the road to talk about a little bit, 2025 quarterback recruiting, as well as some 2024 news as well. But Mike, as we get into the show today, how's it going, man? How was your last week?
Do you see above my head, it says Notre Dame recruiting update with Mike Singer. I'm living the dream. I get paid to do a YouTube show where people care about my opinion. I just blabber on for a half hour and we actually get pretty good viewership. I'm just living the dream, dude. It's a beautiful day. Looking forward to a great weekend. Just got no complaints, man.
Oh, it's great to hear it. Hope you guys are in that same boat, and I'm right there with you, Mike.
Trey,
It is a great day.
Sorry. Is that a Manchester United little flag?
It is. It's blurred out here, and Mike, I'm a Notre Dame fan.
This has been a fun show. It's been good knowing you, Trey.
At the end of the day, Mike, I think European soccer fandom can vary greatly, but Manchester United, this is a pretty easy to get behind fan base, at least. And to be honest with you, Mike, I'm not even a Man United fan.
Clearly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Swansea City fan. But as you know, in European soccer, if you don't know out there, teams can get relegated, and Swansea City has not been part of the top league in a while, so I had to bandwagon a little bit here. But good eye there. I got my screen blurred out and everything, and you still caught the scarf.
Yeah, it's kind of popping in and out, but all right, let's give the people what they want.
Well, no matter what soccer team you pull for overseas, we're here to talk about Notre Dame football recruiting, and let's get right into it, Mike. A big weekend, as I mentioned, this past weekend, Junior Day. What was your thoughts, your biggest takeaways from this weekend? Where did Notre Dame find its most success?
Yeah, as a Liverpool fan, it's really going to be hard for me to get over you being a United guy. But, did log a prediction for Notre Dame to land class of 2024 linebacker Peyton Pierce, a four-star prospect from Texas. And after I logged that prediction, I had a couple of people text me being like, "Are you serious? Like, I thought he was a lock to Oklahoma. He's got so many family ties to the Sooners." But I think a key figure in this recruitment right now is James Laurinaitis. I think his title is grad assistant. I want to say, like, he's not going to be one for long. This is, of course, the great former Ohio State linebacker, and someone who's known Marcus Freeman for obviously a really long time. So Laurinaitis is a person in this recruitment. Pierce just really likes Notre Dame. He's been up to campus 3 times now since last June. He visited over the summer, came back for a game in the fall, and then was just on campus. It was the Stanford game, so it wasn't even a great game for him to be at. Notre Dame lost against a terrible Cardinal team, and then it was just on campus this past weekend. So do like Notre Dame to eventually land him. He's taking more visits. It looks like the big 4 contenders in the recruitment are Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. The RPM, shows that. I think the RPM is a little bold at 89%, and that's obviously large part due to my prediction I've logged for him. Just talking to him, talking to sources, not only close to him, but those on the Notre Dame side of things, I would say that Notre Dame is in a prime position to land him, and it'd be a really nice get. The rankings kind of vary on him, but I think he'd be a fine player, and Notre Dame definitely wants him pretty badly as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it on tape here. Obviously, a lot of explosion and a 4-star on the On3 consensus, and this class of 2024 extremely interesting. We talked about it last week a little bit. It's January right now. This is early on. What are coaches saying, or what did you hear out of this weekend? What were some of the biggest pitches, and what gets you excited about this class after hearing what you heard about Junior Day?
Yeah. I mean, I would say a kind of, Trey, a big theme, kind of sticking with takeaways for coming out of this weekend. would be, he had all 7 commits on campus. And that's something that everyone's really excited about, is how well those guys mesh together. I got to talk to a few of them. Did a story on CJ Carr and Carson Hobbs. Those guys are super fired up. Like Carson Hobbs, he told me he left his house to drive up to South Bend at 4:50 a.m. And he's a junior in high school, went by himself, right? When I was 16, 17 years old, I didn't have a car. I don't think I got my first car until I was 19. I drove a scooter when I was in high school. It's a different story for a different day. But hopefully, and we never talk about that.
I was going to say,
I wasn't taking 4-hour road trips, even if I could. And he goes up there, spends the whole day, and then drives 4 hours back down, in the same day. Like, the dedication for him. He really wanted to meet everyone. He's like, look, I want to recruit. Like, this is like my responsibility. And I had a graphic made and tweeted out where he said, I will never leave Notre Dame. Now, part of me was like, man, I don't want to have this made just in case, like 2-3 years from now or whatever, he ends up transferring, then people are going to dig that thing up. But like, I felt comfortable enough doing it, because I want to look out for the kids, right? They are quite literally children. So when I, making decisions on reporting on them, I want to look out for them. But I felt so confident that Carson was like, he grew up a diehard Notre Dame fan. Like, he bleeds blue and cold. He's in it for Notre Dame for the long run. But I get back on topic for the visitor weekend. Like, he was in the ear of Tay Johnson, the 4-star athlete from Fort Wayne North Side, of course, in the Hoosier State, just recruiting. He had a good time hanging out with the other commits. So again, really good to see those commits bonding. It's really, like, I was thinking about this today. We're talking so much about, this player commits, he's just going to decommit, just like Peyton Bowen did and Keon Keeley. Right. If that's what you want to complain about, I get it. But Marcus Freeman said in a press conference recently, it's when these kids commit to Notre Dame, it's hard for them to decommit, and a part of that is because when they commit, of course, Notre Dame knows they still have to battle. Like Aeneas Williams, for example, the running back from Missouri, committed to the Irish in December. I still think he's going to be looking around at some other schools. We might take a couple visits, but Notre Dame has him committed, and now they can recruit him in a different way. It's not, hey, commit to us anymore. It's, hey, you're committed, and now we want to bring you into this family. Like, that is a really important thing that I think that people don't think about and realize enough, that, like, you're committed here. We treat you differently, and now you're a part of this Notre Dame brotherhood. And it's hard to leave that. And I think that's why it took Peyton Bowen so long to decommit. Like, he was close with those other Notre Dame commits. And of course, he did end up decommitting, but you got to think about someone in the 23 class like a Don Schuler, who did pick up offers from Bama, A&M, Georgia. The list goes on. After he committed to Notre Dame, picked up those offers, and he was a part of that Notre Dame brotherhood and did not want to leave it. So, man, I'm really ranting it up here. One more takeaway. Styles Prescott, Notre Dame had Harry Heastand visit the high school last Friday, and then Saturday Prescott was on campus and got his offer from the Fighting Irish. So varying opinions on his ranking. See, the consensus has him as a lower 3-star, but then On3 has him ranked much higher. You see that Notre Dame's leader per the On3 recruiting machine. I haven't logged my own prediction yet, but really do think that Notre Dame should be considered the leader here. He's an in-state kid, but told me he didn't like grow up this big diehard Notre Dame fan. But the feeling is, over time, I think probably this spring, that Notre Dame will land him. He had a really good time on campus, and it was his second time at Notre Dame. So that's the gist. And just lastly, like, no commitments this weekend or this past weekend. Like, no one's announced a pledge for the Irish, or there's not like, this kid visited and now he set a commitment date for a week later. Like, I wonder where he's at. Nothing like that. But last recruiting cycle, that Notre Dame had the same junior day weekend, and Sullivan Absher, Preston Zinter, and Devin Houston all visited for it, and they ended up committing to Notre Dame, in a span of a few months. So I think that this recruiting weekend will pay dividends. You had the Smith twins, Jared and Jacob Smith, Bryce Young, Styles Prescott, Tay Johnson, Peyton Pierce. All these guys, I feel like Notre Dame's leaning or are leaning towards Notre Dame. I'm sure there's a couple others that I forgot to mention there that they're leaning the Irish that visit this weekend, as well as the 7 commits. I think it's going to be a weekend where you look back at it 6-7 months from now and you say, man, Notre Dame, that was a huge weekend for the Irish to get all these kids on campus and then get them committed.
Yeah, big weekend. And we saw this last year as well. Like you said, it was a big junior day for Notre Dame and obviously an excellent class. But, there was some downfall at the end, if you want to call it that. Some guys decommitting, obviously. And, I think Notre Dame fans at times maybe cringe up thinking about this class and what's going to happen this go-round. And I hate to ask you hypotheticals. I try to avoid them here, Mike, because I know you have a lot of cold, hard facts that we got to get to. But do you think that Marcus Freeman approaches this class differently after, having a lap under his belt and kind of seeing how it shook out with some of the decommitments at the end of this past year?
I think there's small strategical things to learn about, like maybe doing this particular move to keep Bowen or Keeley locked in. Maybe that wasn't the right thing, but overall, I mean, you can't reinvent the wheel of recruiting. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, you recruit your butt off, and yeah, again, I think you can learn small little intricate details. Like, man, we're not going to do that next time, but I mean, Freeman's in his second, season coming up, as Notre Dame's head coach, but the guy's been recruiting for a long time. I think it's a long way to say no. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He is a darn good recruiter. Huge part of Notre Dame signing the 2022 class. Obviously, Notre Dame signing the number 8 recruiting class this cycle. And I think the 2023 class actually, look at that. It's 0.02. If you see it on the right under class score, it's 0.02 points lower than the last cycle that signed 0.03, I guess. Then the last cycle that was, I don't know about that math, that signed number 6 last year. So, I mean, they're basically identical classes. And it's like, oh, well, that's just typical Notre Dame. Well, Brian Kelly hadn't done that since 2013-14. So, I mean, I think the 2020 recruiting class was ranked in the 20s. Like, there is, I mean, if Notre Dame consistently keeps signing top 10 classes, that's something that Notre Dame just did not do in the Brian Kelly era. They just didn't. I think that we look back on that and we say, oh, yeah, they start off well and then they trail off, into the 8 to 12 range. No, I mean, Notre Dame just did not often sign top 10 classes under Brian Kelly. It just was not a frequent thing. Curious what the 2021 class ranked at, Chris. Number 11. And that was a really good class with Styles. You brought in the good receivers and Blake Fisher and some guy named Joe Alt. Like, that was a really good recruiting class. That was outside the top 10. And then you're bringing the next year the number 6 class. So it's, you're continuing to raise the ceiling and getting more upper echelon players while also the floor is being raised as well. Not as many, like at that 2021 class, if we can go back to that, a lot of 3 stars. There's a lot of 3 stars at the bottom of that list, and again, rankings aren't everything. I get that, and I make that pitch all the time. But the blue chip ratio there is 48%. So that means only 48% of that 27 commits were ranked 4 or 5 stars. Whereas the 2023 class, I think, is in the high 70s. So that's a good barometer of Notre Dame's raising their ceiling.
I think you said it best there, Mike. The floor is so much higher, and that's what gets you excited, about this class, even with some of the decommitments at the end of 2023. It's still a loaded class because they set that floor so high. It remains in the top 10, gives you all the confidence in the world heading into 2024. All the confidence, after hearing what you said about this past weekend as well, that feel-good mentality with these recruits here. And Styles Prescott, Chris, our wonderful producer, and I have a running list of all-time names. And I'm going to need you to Silas Prescott's going to have to be added. So Chris, chuck that one up for me, please. Guys, keep getting in the comments. I've seen some great ones so far, and we're going to try to get some questions. I want to go ahead and get to one here. I always say that, and I feel like we never do a great job. But Joe Bro has a question to kind of wrap on our discussion about Junior Day, talking about these 2024s. Are there any must-haves, in your opinion, for Notre Dame's class at the moment?
I don't like the word must-haves in terms of players because, like, that's like one. It's hard to say oh, this guy's a can't miss player. Like, what does that mean? Because who's even to say that the guy that Notre Dame could get and replace him is not even better? So I don't like the must-have player. It's just not really my thing. But I mean, must-have position. If we're going to look at that, I mean, I think the secondary is pretty stink. I mean, they're all important. I really think they need to go after hard in the secondary, sign a big corner safety class. Otherwise, it's really just a normal for Notre Dame. I mean, they already got their quarterback in CJ Carr, so they're looking at 2025, and we'll touch on 2025 recording in a little bit. But otherwise, just receiver and pass rusher. I mean, that's so important, for Notre Dame to continue to take the next step to win a national championship. Those are two positions that they just can. You have to get after the other quarterback, and you have to be able to throw the ball downfield. So Notre Dame's got the quarterback, but you need to get talent around him, and you need to go get the other team's quarterback. So that's what I would say for must-haves.
Yeah, it would be great to see some of that young talent at wide receiver, cornerback too. I know you had a show this week talking about what does Notre Dame get beat at, usually on the outside there, and in some of the skill positions as well. So, you got to hope that no must-haves in 2024, but they can secure some of these, big skill guys here. I've seen some other good comments as well here too. Thank you for the Swansea City love. Geographically closest to where we're at right now here. So that's why I'm a fan. They're the hometown team. And guys, your
Wrexham.
hometown.
Did you watch Welcome to Wrexham?
I did, actually. I didn't watch the whole series through, but I watched the first few episodes. Phenomenal.
Oh, you got to keep watching. It's a great show. Great show.
It is awesome. No doubt. And guys, a great store, your hometown store for all things Notre Dame, collectibles, memorabilia, stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, one-of-a-kind Rockney items. That's Augie's Locker Room. You guys can visit them online, in person, or you can give them a phone call. Guys, that's 1811 South Bend Avenue. If you want to call them, 574-277-INDY. Indy, and when you make that phone call, you're going to talk to a friendly staff of people that can hook you up with everything that you need for your Notre Dame man cave. Or maybe you just want a nice memorabilia item to complete the home. They have all kinds of stuff, guys. You can find exclusive Joe Montana signed items, pieces from the famous sculptor Jerry McKenna. He has miniature replicas of the bronze statues around the stadium. Like I said, jerseys, helmets, autographs. And guys, if they don't have it, Augie's going to get it for you. Just let them know. They will find it. They can find stuff dating back into the 1800s even, as far back there. So all kinds of vintage stuff, guys. All kinds of newer autographs and stuff like that as well. Again, that's 1811 South Bend Avenue. You can give them a phone call at 574-277-INDY, or just visit them online, augieslockerroom.com, AUGIES lockerroom.com. Wide selection there, guys. Go check it out. You see it on screen.
Just in case, I can't imagine this is the case for any of our viewers, but just in case you forgot how special Notre Dame is, just looking through this shop reminds you. I mean, this is so cool. I mean, Notre Dame's such a historic, awesome program, man. Like, this kind of just gives you chills going through this stuff, man.
Letterman, you got the patches, the coins. I love these signs. My best friend growing up actually was a huge Notre Dame fan. Had those signs all over the house. Play like a champion today, and look like a champion.
That's something so cool about Notre Dame. In my job, right? I talk to people all over the country, right? Whether it's subscribers or high school coaches, whoever. So many Notre Dame fans. Like, I got a buddy who works at a school in the Mountain West. Huge Notre Dame fan. He'll text me checking in on, how's this gone with this recruit? I mean, Notre Dame is truly a national brand. There's so many Notre Dame haters out there. But I think that kind of validates how awesome Notre Dame is. If people hate you, you're doing something right. Or usually, I should say, or sometimes, but it's truly iconic, man. Like, love covering Notre Dame, man. Awesome school.
No questions asked. I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina. Like I said, my best friend, a Notre Dame fan. We were able each Saturday to go to watch parties to see the team in South Carolina, and an unlimited amount of fans for Notre Dame. So, guys, show off that fandom with Augie's Locker Room. But as we keep it rolling here, Mike, let's talk about one more piece in 2024. The latest with Chicago defensive lineman Justin Scott. What's the rundown here?
Oh, man. Yeah, this one's interesting. Not a whole lot new if you've been reading all my updates and watching all of our videos of Blue and Gold this week. It continues to be his current plan is to announce a commitment on his birthday, January 31st. He announced this 7 days ago that this was his plan, and it was a surprise because he had been telling On3's Chad Simmons that he was looking at a spring-summer commitment, and then boom, all of a sudden, I'm committing at the end of the month. And right when I saw that, I was just thinking to myself, man, it would not be a surprise to see this thing delayed, because when you have a commitment moved up like that, other schools are like, oh crap, we like Justin Scott, but we haven't offered him yet. We need to get on this. So then you see Georgia and Florida offer this week. So I think that's giving them a little pause on like, do I want to wait this thing out a little bit? But if he sticks with that January 31st, I think it's Notre Dame. I do. Like, I don't think he's going to be visiting any schools this month. If he is to visit a school this month, I think it's Notre Dame. So that would obviously be ideal. But as things currently stand, I like Notre Dame delaying him at the end of the month, but still in the back of my mind and kind of checking with sources, like it's just not done. Like, it's not done for the Irish yet. But it's a battle that Notre Dame's continuing to fight, and whether it's at the end of this month or a different time, I think you obviously like Notre Dame's chances more if it's at the end of this month. If he pushes it back, you're not feeling as good, but still Notre Dame should be considered the leader. So big recruitment for Notre Dame, absolute freak show, 6'5", 310, a 5-star type talent. Notre Dame's definitely got to get this guy.
And you hope the recency bias can kind of carry over till the end of the month here, if that is the decision date as well. Justin Scott, defensive lineman, St. Ignatius, Chicago, Illinois there. As we move it along here, Mike, I think a week ago, coaches began to get on the road. For Notre Dame, what were the most important stops they made, and what are you hearing out of their travels?
Yeah, I've kind of got three thoughts here. One, Notre Dame went out on the road, was it Tuesday, and stopped in at the high school of Caleb. Maybe it wasn't his high school. I just know it was the basketball game, so I don't know if it was a road game or not. But Marcus Freeman, I think it was tight ends coach Jared Parker. Parker recruits the Nashville area for Notre Dame, so he stopped in at Caleb Beasley's basketball game. So Beasley, huge Notre Dame target, looked fantastic at Irish Invasion last summer, and I think Notre Dame offered him in the fall of 2021. So a long-time target for Notre Dame. Beasley committed to Tennessee in October. Notre Dame finished as a close second. But then Beasley is still talking to Notre Dame. And I think Freeman being at the game kind of sends a message out like, we're still coming after him. Beasley already knew Notre Dame was coming after him, right? Like, he is I'm reading comments and I'm trying to talk at the same time. It's not working. I have no idea what Charlie Weiss's last bell loop is saying. Mike, on your Twitter, who's the pick of the guy you're interviewing? Oh, that's Keon Keeley. That's Keon Keeley I'm interviewing. Sorry. Yeah, I'm interviewing Keon Keeley. That was at the All-American Bowl. But yeah, Beasley obviously knows Notre Dame's coming after him, but now the nation kind of gets to know that, hey, Notre Dame's not giving up on this. Even though you committed, we have close to a year till signing day. We're coming after you. So that was one. Freeman was all over the East Coast. I actually have a little graphic to pop up that this was for an article I'm working on. Can we change the layout of the screen right now so we can see more? Yeah, there we go. So he was all over the East Coast. Now, I think a couple of them might not be in the correct order according to the little treasure map, little thing we got going on. Might be flipped. Like maybe he went to Connecticut before New Jersey. I don't know exactly the travel itinerary, but you can see at least the plots of where all he went this week. And I will have an article to go with this graphic on Saturday, but thought it was pretty interesting. Like started the week in Kansas City, then went to that Caleb Beasley basketball game in Nashville, and then just went all over the East Coast. Charlotte today, they finished up the day with a home visit with Brendan Vernon, who signed with the Irish last month. But yeah, Baltimore for a big-time pass rusher. New Jersey, multiple defensive linemen. Owen Wafel, who's committed. The Smith twins, Connecticut. There's a big-time pass rusher. Pennsylvania for a couple offensive linemen. Starting to see a little theme there. Charlotte today is Bryce Young, the not the Alabama quarterback, the pass rusher from Charlotte. So again, lots of defensive line, offensive line. That's Marcus Sherman said, hey, we're an O-line, D-line driven program. He's put his money where his mouth is there. So, yeah, thought this was interesting. And then last but certainly not least, if you read all of my Notre Dame coaches on the road reports each morning, I thought this was interesting, Trey. Notre Dame's been on the West Coast. I think we can include Hawaii on the West Coast. You know, it's certainly on the West, right?
Definitely.
Brian Mason spent most of the week in Hawaii, 3 days in Hawaii. Mike Mickens kind of leads Notre Dame's area recruiting out there. He made stops at Seattle, Arizona. No one in Los Angeles. No one. I don't think any Notre Dame coach stepped foot in California this week, which maybe they're just going to be out there this upcoming week. Like that's the LA week where they're going to have a few coaches out there. Like Emmett Mosley's a huge target for Notre Dame in the Los Angeles area. But I just find it interesting that like Notre Dame's spending a lot more time in the Carolinas, in Tennessee, in Arizona. Not as much California. Like maybe I'm reading into something that's not there. But it seems like California, like I don't know if it's just Notre Dame doesn't have as much ties there, or they just don't think they're crushing it in the Golden State, but maybe something to keep an eye on. And look, I know everyone's going to say, well, we have such great recruiting success in California. Sure, but for whatever it is right now, Notre Dame's not diving in there. Maybe it is a USC is doing so well in there, and Notre Dame doesn't want to. They want to put their resources elsewhere. Maybe it is. We just had a comment from Andrew talking about Texas, like Notre Dame's done really well in Texas. I've said this before. There was someone who worked at Notre Dame, a while back, who told me that they didn't want to see the Fighting Irish continue to, quote, beat their heads on the wall in Texas, because that's what it was like recruiting there. You just go down there, you recruit hard, you get no success in Texas. Notre Dame just signed 4 players from the Lone Star State, and it could have been 5 if they had held on to Peyton Bowen, which 24 hours before signing day, Notre Dame thought they for sure had him. That was the most Notre Dame had signed in Texas, and I think in the internet era. So Marcus Freeman, I absolutely agree with Andrew's comment there. So yeah, will be interesting to see if they get back into LA and even Sacramento, the Bay Area, this upcoming week.
No, that's a great point. I mean, it's interesting. And, Andrew with a couple of great points there as well, talking about USC locking down Southern California. Maybe that's the case. And like Lucas is saying, maybe it is still for everybody. But we're going to have to wait and see if Notre Dame dips their toes back in those waters here soon. But let's talk about 2025. Let's look way into the future. And we had a laugh before the show started, Mike, talking about a quarterback in this class that was born in 2006, maybe 2007, Antoine Hill. Notre Dame offers the 2025 quarterback. Where is Notre Dame with recruiting the quarterback in 2025? And let's talk about Antoine Hill a little bit, what he brings to the table.
I'm excited about this offer because he lives like an hour south of me. So selfishly, I really hope Notre Dame is able to make a dent in this recruitment so I can go down. And in Warner Robins, Georgia has a Buc-ee's. And I think we've talked about Buc-ee's. I
don't know if we have, Mike. Are you a super fan?
Love Buc-ee's.
All right.
Surprisingly enough, I don't have any Buc-ee's stuff either on my body or next to me. I mean, I've got Buc-ee's koozies, Buc-ee's clothes. I got Buc-ee's shoes, underwear, hoodie that I wear all the time.
I think you might have taken it a little too far, Mike. I mean, this is sounding like an obsession. It doesn't sound.
Oh, it absolutely is. I will spend $80 at Buc-ee's and not blink an eye and feel like I just gave to charity. But if I spend $80 anywhere else, I feel like I just committed a crime. But
It's
Yeah, I mean, Antoine Hill's a big-time quarterback. Notre Dame's now offered 3 of the top 7 quarterbacks per the On3 consensus, and very interested in 2 or 3 others. I could see them extending an offer to. So I feel like in Brian Kelly's Notre Dame, at least in the years I've covered the Fighting Irish, late in offering quarterbacks. Like they really, really took their time. They offered Ryan Montgomery, I think, was that fall of 2021? And he was a 2025 prospect. Like that's a long ways out, right? Offered Bryce Underwood really early in the recruiting process. And Hill, I mean, I had been talking to sources about 2025 quarterback recruiting to kind of get a feel on who Notre Dame liked. Hill didn't come up, but they Chancey Stuckey's from Warner Robins, a legend in the Macon area. So he was recruiting in the Peach State on Thursday, stopped by Houston County High School, extended the offer to Hill. And I got to talk to Hill, interested in Notre Dame, said he watched the program, and, mentioned guys like Ian Book and Kyle Hamilton. But Georgia's, I mean, the Southern schools are obviously going to be tough to beat here, but he did say that he wants to get up to Notre Dame, and scheduling a visit to get up to South Bend is important to him. So 6'5" or 6'4", 205 pounds, really good looking passer. I mean, he's just a sophomore, man. So Notre Dame has got a good early offer out to this young man. And I think that 2025 quarterback, I think it's going to be really good. I think the days are gone of, man, Notre Dame just got Kenny Minchie and then CJ Carr. Like, man, who wants to follow that in the 2025 class? I'm looking at my phone as you were talking a minute ago, Trey. Jaden Rashada is visiting Arizona State this weekend. Like, and they just got like Drew Pine, who's a Heisman winner, soon to be. Like players, these quarterbacks. I'm kidding on the Pine thing,
but pause everything.
Like seriously, like Ole Miss brought in 3 transfer quarterbacks, and I'm sure a high school quarterback too. Like these quarterbacks, they move so much. Like you're going to have loaded quarterback rooms. You have the one-time transfer rule in the portal. You can go if you need to. So I think that, yeah, if you're a 2025 quarterback, you can't be like, oh, they got a really good quarterback before me, I don't want to join here. You just got to go to the best fit. So did really want to bring up a couple of these comments. Beaver Nuggets, they are fantastic snacks. If you haven't been to Buc-ee's and you got one near you, go pick up some Beaver Nuggets. They're fantastic. Not being unfaithful to Taco Bell, it's still my favorite place to eat in the world. I would choose, honestly, go spend $10 at Taco Bell rather than, go to a steakhouse. Like, absolutely love Taco Bell. Best place in the world.
In the world?
In the world!
This is, we don't work for Taco Bell, but what is the best menu item?
Give me a grilled, you got to get it grilled through the app. Or I guess you can just ask it out the window. Like the value ground beef burrito. Give me, because look, the quality of Taco Bell from the $1 thing to the $4 thing, it's not that, it's Taco Bell. It's the same ingredients, right? So I'm going quantity, and I'm getting a lot of quality in my quantity. More bang for your buck. I mean, Augie's is, I don't know, but you're going to get for $10 at Augie's. Maybe a sticker. I mean, this is high-end stuff here, so I'm spending $10 at Taco Bell.
Yeah, Mike's a high roller. He does both. You guys need to do both as well, or at least just go check him out at Augie's over there on 1811 South Bend Avenue. The cheesy gordita crunch. Thomas Cooney, I don't know if I've seen you comment on our show before, but you have just made the best comment in the show's history here. So thank you for that. And thank you for everybody getting in the comments today, joining us for the Notre Dame recruiting update. It has been a great show. Guys, be sure to hit the like button one more time for me as we begin to wrap it up here. And check us out at blueandgold.com if you've not already done so. Mike, anything you got coming out this week on Blue and Gold you're excited about? What else is going on as we wrap it up today?
Yeah, just lots of interviews still. I mean, from the junior day offers this week. I'm currently planning, depending on what Saturday looks like, might have some personal stuff come up, but I did interview Keon Keeley at the All-American Bowl, talked to him for a good 5 to 10 minutes or so, who the 5-star, of course, flipped to Alabama after being committed to Notre Dame. So we kind of talked about, hey, what happened here? A lot of people, I did that same story on Carnell Tate and Dante Moore, like the package deal that didn't happen for Notre Dame. got a lot of hate on that. Like people are like, Mike, just move on, man. I'm like, look, I can write about a personal interest story of some, player but people like a lot of, I write articles based on what you guys read. And some people might not like that I'm writing about that. But when I look at my metrics and what people are talking about, that's what people want to read. So I'll take the silent majority over the angry Twitter Karens. So the Keon Keeley piece will be really interesting. That'll come out probably Saturday, but if not, then I'll write it Sunday. So yeah, check that out, give it a read, and then you can yell at me on Twitter.
We need more people like Mike Singer out here defending us from the Twitter Karens of the world.
Yeah,
and you can find Twitter at Mike Singer.
Yeah, we put this guy in the thumbnail, so we should talk about him. Real quick, I forgot to go through him when we discussed the takeaways from the weekend. Adarius Hayes from Largo, Florida. He can do it all, really. He's what I call a defensive athlete, a viper or a linebacker. Florida's considered the favorite. I think they should be, but I really see this shaping up to be a Notre Dame versus Florida battle. Other schools are in the mix, but again, I really do think it's those two schools. Like Mom was on campus this past weekend when Hayes visited Notre Dame. She had a really good time. Like I think that she wants Hayes to be at Notre Dame, and I talked to Hayes yesterday and told me that Mom's opinion is pretty important to him. So I would definitely give Notre Dame more than a 1.9% chance to land him. Yeah, I think he's going to Florida this weekend. So the proximity for, I'm actually from, I grew up 15 minutes from the Largo area. Lived a good chunk of my life there. So I know like that drive to Gainesville is cake, so that's going to be tough for Notre Dame to overcome. But I mean, I think if he kind of comes together, thinks, man, like Notre Dame's the best fit for me, which personally I think it is. And it's where his mom wants him to be. I think that's where I'll end up. But the thing about Florida, it's in-state and it's a really good school too. So we're looking at the academic component. It's like in-state in really good school or out-of-state in really good school. It's interesting, but just from what I know about the young man, I just know you'd fit perfectly in that Notre Dame locker room.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see on Adarius Hayes. And thank you for the comment there, Lucas. And
yes,
thank you to everybody.
Thank you for reminding us.
With a smiley face too. Appreciate that. Coach Murph, go get your meal. And guys, please check us out again next week. Hit that like button one more time for me. But until next week, for Mike Singer, my name is Trey Yanity. This has been the Notre Dame Recruiting Update.